Oh, well, I don't know. Not really good right now.
Well, hopefully we can maybe turn that around. So
Yeah,
the
well,
company
one
you
thing we're
work
gonna do
for,
right now, what we're gonna resolve right now, one of these issues is gonna be I will have this matter thoroughly investigated by as many authorities as I can. So if you think that in any way we're gonna play games, that's not what we're gonna be doing. Or if you think in any way we're friends, we're not friends. Oh, don't act like we're friends. You like obviously that's a lot different than anyone else would ever tell you. But no, I'm not gonna play games.
okay, well, what are you wanting some help with so I can see if we can get you some help?
My help, the help that I want you to investigate a previous matter that just occurred today. I want the phone records to be pulled, and I want you to look at them. What was recorded, what was stated, why it was stated, and then realize why I am either angry about it or acting in the manner I am, and then understand that I'm doing so out of sheer, sheer, sheer belief that I'm trying to help some other people that obviously would, if they ever had to deal with these matters themselves, would probably rot in hell and die because uh, I don't know that your company, whether you know it or not, gives a shit about any of them. Do you understand that?
I'm trying to understand, but I'm still missing the point of what are we needing to do for you?
I told you what you need to do. You need to investigate. Now, I can give you the names of the individuals. I can give you the times of when they called and who I spoke to, the numbers at which they were they came into through on my phone. Those are the things I can do. As far as why do you need to investigate? Because of the words and the language used to describe things to someone. Now, I want you to understand and kind of you know uh, kind of categorize this, or think of this in the terms of this is an individual that is described as mentally ill. So that's not a very that's not classically thought of as a good thing. So, or even a thing that a person could typically endure. Mental illness is a very difficult thing. So I endure that, but it doesn't. That the issue here becomes that yes, I know what you said. I understand language. I understand how language can be used to distort and contrive and do a variety of things. I've studied enough of it to know how to do it myself. I can do that, but that's not my intent. I don't want to do that to people. But what I want to say is that it seems to me very evidently like either even maybe even maybe you want to do that to people. But I seemingly do now know that United Healthcare wants to do that to people. But that doesn't mean that just going to drop the plan with United Healthcare. I would rather have United Healthcare investigated thoroughly to figure out, well, why are you doing that? And I will. So that's what I want you to do yourselves is an inward audit of what you're doing. Just figure out why are you doing that? Why is that necessary? Do you want further?
So I'm gonna. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you want further information? Do you want further details of what was stated, or would you rather transfer me to someone that truly knows how to do their job? Because that's another question I don't know. How many people at your company really know how to do their job? So, I mean, if people don't know how to do their job, they don't need a job. I mean, I'm not here in the world of the United States, living in the United States of America, to make sure that a bunch of people that don't know what the fuck they're doing can get paid for it. That's just stupid. That's a dumb thing. So I don't need to do that, do I? No one does.
I agree with you on that one, but I
Okay
want
then.
to clarify.
Okay, clarify.
Okay, so what you're, for lack of a better term, complaining about is an advocate from United Healthcare that called you today.
Yeah, just a few. It would have been within a half hour ago. I mean, we had a lengthy discussion, but I mean, the reality of that discussion. I mean, their attempt was to figure out, if I have no idea survey of my services. I mean, one thing I have going on here that's a very troubling thing to me, at least, is we have seemingly. I don't know what to think of it. At least I have no problem with people, immigrating, migrating, whatever you want to call it, coming into this country and living in this country from foreign places. But if you're outsourcing to foreign countries in some way, that I would have a problem with that in a serious way. Now, other things about it would be like, why are the people they're calling and why are all these people distinctly foreign? Why do they have foreign accents? Some of those things need to be, better described, or at least to people, because I don't think people realize they don't know much. They don't know what to say or do about this, but I do, and I will do it, and I'm going to do it. But as far as what I'm complaining about, my complaint, and if you want to consider it that, It is my sheer objection to what someone said. The words of, if I tell someone that this is my family doctor and they put the information in the system and then say, well, that family doctor is not receiving, he's not accepting any new patients. And then I say, well, I'm not a new patient. And then they further their statement with, he's not accepting new patients, essentially, reiterating what they say. Do you know what that means? Do you know what it means to reiterate?
Yeah, it needs to be repetitive.
Correct. So,
Say the same thing, they're just trying to use different words to say the exact same thing.
no, kind of. They made the same statement again. They stated the same thing, right? So when they stated that again, it's like, okay, well, what do you think I didn't tell you? I told you what I told you. He's my family doctor. I've been his patient since this point in time. So, I don't have to resolve this issue. I'm not going to change my family doctor because your computer's telling you shit. So when she says to me, uses words like, he's not accepting any new patients. I mean, that's a deferment. She's deferring, like, well, the system says that you can't have that doctor. And then her assumption being, because either A, I'm mentally ill, or because I'm having I have this plan or whatever, that I'm just going to choose a different doctor. And either way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The technicalities of this don't matter. The language is what matters, and the fact that people are using that, and the fact that either they're ignorant to it, stupid to it, or whatever. And at that point, it's more like, do you really need a job? Do you need to be working for this company if you don't know what the fuck you're saying? And if you do know what you're saying, and you're saying these things, and you're thinking that I'm going to be pleased about it, or in any way pleased about to hear that from somebody, I ain't, because I ain't going to stand for it. It's bullshit. I'm not going to be told by a system that is made by other people that they just may be incompetent themselves, weird shit about how I'm going to live my life, or weird shit about who I'm going to pick for my doctor. Nah, that's not how it works. So if that's what, United Healthcare wants to do, if that's their intentions and that's their beliefs and that's how they're going to do things with their company and their ideas of healthcare, then I'll have them thoroughly investigated. I mean, this isn't going to stop. You've readily rattled the wrong guy's cage today, because I'm going to continue. I have a reason to. And eventually I'll be taking up the matter with like the FBI. And then I'll be taking up the matter again with like the White House and saying, this shit's got to stop, because this isn't right. This isn't how Americans need to be treated. We're Americans. We believe in many of the same things. So if you don't believe these things, once again, I'll tell you the same things that I told the other individuals. I will have you thoroughly investigated by your company. You lose your job. I don't care, because you don't know how to do your job. I mean, do you?
I mean, I do. I've been doing it for a while now, so if I don't know how, I think that's more of a problem for me than you, right?
Oh, I don't care if you know how to do. I mean, ultimately, no, I don't care if you know how to do your job or not. Because if you didn't know how to do your job and you're working at my company, I'd fire you. But that's what I'd do in this instance. If I thought that personally, to my own opinion, you didn't know how to do your job, I'd say that to somebody. I'd say that person doesn't know how to do their job, and they don't need to be here right now. They don't need this job because they don't want it. So the issue here becomes, do your job. That's one thing. The other thing is to do it properly. So if you do those things, well, good. We have resolved the matter of, then do it. But that requires you to do something like pull the records, find those tapes, and investigate. And if you're not going to do those things, I will continue pressing until someone does, because I know how to press on people. I do realize how to do that. I'm good at it. But I shouldn't have to do those things. I shouldn't have to, but I will do those things. I'm going to do them anyways. I'm just doing them in other ways. But I'll continue. I'll get forensic to the point of, this is what this person said, because I'm doing it now. I'm recording what we're talking about currently.
And we can, once I get your complaint documented, which I do have to say, the health plan does take your complaints and grievances very seriously.
Yeah, good.
So the actual issue, though, to clarify,
is
the
language.
issue is that you.
It is the language. It is the formal.
Physician.
Right. Yeah, that's the issue at hand. The issue at hand is that the language, but the real issue at hand is not really that. It's the language, the abject, odd idea of language that you use to describe to somebody, oh, well, that, our system now says you can't have that doctor, essentially. I mean, it's almost, it's hidden in a way, because you don't say it. You just say, well, he's not accepting, patients, which is not true exactly. I mean, he may not be accepting patients, but that's not the reality of my of what's going on there between me and my doctor. That's not. If I'm a patient with my doctor since a period of time, that's the reality. What you told me is wrong, and I know it's wrong, because I was on the phone when she called, inevitably called what was the clinic. I was sitting there on the phone. I assume she knew I was there. I heard her making the phone call. I heard her talking to those individuals, and they simply enough said, "Well, that's not an issue. You know, if this is his doctor and he comes to this clinic, that's fine." So the reality becomes, you don't know your own system, you don't know what you've been taught, you don't know what you either went to school for or whatever. Because I do understand how the healthcare system works. I understand what's required to have some of these jobs. I understand the laws that are involved, and I understand the severity of what I've just said. And I understand the reality of investigation. I do that myself. I mean, I study it, and forensics. I do those things, but I'm not going to stand for this. This is bullshit. And I'm not just from you, from anybody. I'm not going to be told by some odd idea of a system what is the truth or what anything. I mean, that's not how it works. A person has to tell a person things. So when you form a relationship, whether you call me and you don't even know who I am or whatever, that's a relationship that you're already formed there. That's a fact right there. That's a reality right there. That's a hailing right there. That's a fact of what happens between two people. But when you don't seem to get the point of that relationship, people get hurt, people get harmed, things happen. I don't want bad things to happen, but I'm not going to sit here and take this. This is not what I want in life. I don't want to have to deal with bureaucratic nonsense of like, do you know how to do your job constantly? If you don't know how to do your job, then I want you out. I don't want you around me because I don't want to be around a bunch of people that are just fools thinking that incompetent, weird ideas is going to make it in a world like this. You may not know what I'm saying, but if you work in healthcare, you ought to. You ought to be able to look at it pretty plainly and see that A, the world's not getting any better. B, it's not getting any cheaper. C, it's not getting fixed. And D, we don't know how to make it work, but we do know how to make these weird ideas. And that's what I call them, really foreign and weird ideas. And I have read the Constitution of the United States of America, and I have studied it. So I do know how to apply the Constitution to these matters. Now, if other people are saying they don't, then I don't care because I will seek proper, backing. I'll seek proper help with this matter. And I know how to do that. I'm in a position to do it, and I'm going to do it. But if you expect in any way for me to be kind about it, don't, because I'm not going to be. I'm going to be very frontal and very aggressive at times with people saying, I'm not going to do those things for you, and I'm not going to let you do them because they're wrong. But if that has to be with your company, and it has to be with your reality of what that is, and even if I have to take it up with AARP at that point and call them and tell them, I want this matter investigated, it will be investigated, and I will get what I desire in that manner. The truth. That's what I desire. Figure out what the hell are you saying to people on the phone when you call them and try to figure out, well, we want to help you with services. Is that the truth? Because it doesn't seem like it. If you use certain language, the truth isn't really what you're saying. What you're saying is kind of like, well, we ain't going to tell you the truth. So if that's the truth, I'll take that up with you in a court of law because I can do that. Because those are my rights. Because I can sue you for whatever matter I like as long as it's over $20. Do you understand? So I can make it, this matter is worth $21. So now I'm going to sue you for it and take you through a court of law and then drag it out in a manner where it's all very public and in the media and say, only for a matter of $21. Now, what do you have to say?
All right. Well, to attempt to resolve this for you, I would like to ask, what is the last name of your doctor?
My doctor's last name is Dr. Edwards.
Traditional spelling of Edwards?
Certainly.
First name?
First name is Patrick.
Would you happen to know if the middle initial is A?
His middle initial?
Yes.
As far as I know, I thought it was something like J. But...
Okay. And location you see him at? Is it the 300 North 4th Avenue East Street, or Suite 200? I'm sorry.
I see him there at the Newton Clinic in Newton, Iowa.
Okay, this is the Newton, Iowa address I have here. Let me just confirm if this is the clinic address.
Great.
It does come up as the Newton Clinic. Okay.
Good.
All right.
So you do realize I'm recording this, right?
Yes, sir. You did state that previously.
Yeah, and it's and it's obvious. It's not like I'm hiding the fact that I'm recording it.
Right.
Okay.
Let me go ahead here. Give me a few moments because I can fix this, okay? But I need you to kind of bear with me.
Well, you fix it. No, that's not fixing it. You're going to investigate. That fixes it. Not what you're saying here. This matter here. If you what you say is, oh, but we've resolved this. That's not resolving it. I will continue the matter. I will continue the complaint, and I will continue to pursue this with your company. If you don't resolve this matter with me, I will continue then with the state. I will go to the various state institutions I have to go to. I will speak with them formally. Having this recording, it'll be very obvious that I said that and then I do that because of the fact that you have shown sheer and utter neglect for whatever you want to consider is the elderly or the mentally ill. As a representative of your company, either you can duly speak about that or seek whatever legal counsel you desire.
Well, we are going to do what you were requesting. We are going to investigate the situation with the previous call you had.
Yes, whereupon I was extremely angry and said various things. But I'm not going to be treated like somebody. I'm not going to be treated like that by anybody at all regarding any matter. I don't care what it is about. Someone tells me things like, "Oh, what the system says." No, what the system says has nothing to do with this. I'm a human being. If you tell me that I have to go to a concentration camp because the system says, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to say, no, now I'm going to kill you because that's what the system says. You understand that? That's a very serious matter. It's not something you take lightly. This is not a light thing. This is maybe a trifle or a trivial thing to you, but it's not. Language like this determines what happens to people that often are not able to properly, care for themselves or fend for themselves or anything in the world where your assumption would be healthcare is about giving health and care. That's not what I received there. I didn't receive any health care. This isn't even healthcare. This is insanity. And it makes me angry because I deal with this. I've dealt with these various other issues like this myself too. But myself, my own self, alone. Things where you would need armies and men and several men to actually formally handle matters. And what do?
I'm sorry, was that a rhetorical question or was that an actual question? I couldn't quite tell.
That was a very pointed question at the fact of what do people do when other people are suffering and actually, dying inside, and the reality of the world of mental illness and the reality of what it is to be sane and insane in this world. The fact that, in various ways I could tell you and describe to you what I've went through in my life, but none of it is very, pleasant or very good. I can't say any way it is, but I could say it's very curious that a bunch of people ever thought that they cared, because I don't think they did. But I have seen various things that they've done and think, okay, well, that's how you care now. But I don't know if it is. I can't tell. But my dear, this goes well beyond me. This goes out there into a world of other people. It goes out there and finally ends up in landing in somewhere in Jerusalem or in Israel. And those are not issues that I know that you would ever want to deal with or anybody. But those are issues I deal with. So when someone calls me and uses a certain language, I realize, oh, this is what the issue is really about. And it is in a lot of ways. But, it's difficult to say. I can't say exactly that you understand it because I don't think you do. I think you just understand that I can understand the words this man says, but I don't think you understand the difficulty of actually putting together sentences like this in a continuous way and stating them. Because the reality of what I see here is madness. Like a person's extremely angry, therefore, vocalizing things that perhaps he shouldn't, which, very well stated. But again, did you say that? No, I did. So this relationship, again, like I've stated before, between me and you or me and whoever, this formal matter where you're saying, oh, okay, I get it. You don't get it. You don't get me at all. What I'm saying to you is a very unique and very special way in which I understand something and communicate it to you. You don't understand that. I do. So when you break that trust, I understand. But that break of that trust, you're trying to say, well, we'll investigate. Well, if your investigation is as thorough as my investigation, we will find the true culprit, the answer, what is truly going on here. Far darker and far more cryptic than you'll ever understand. But you're not meant to understand this stuff, and that's fine. But what I will say is you don't understand me just because you can understand what I'm saying.
You are very correct.
So the matter...
Because you're telling me you're upset does not mean I understand how you're really upset. Unless I have been in that situation myself, the most I'm going to understand is what you convey to me.
Exactly. But the reality of language here, my dear, what I'm saying is language. Language is the issue here. I'm a person that can understand language at a level that you can't. Therefore, I can communicate to you things that obviously most other people that you would ever understand language. They'd sit there and listen. They wouldn't understand. I'm an advocate. I advocate for other people. I try to help people that have mental illnesses because I have one myself. I try to help people because they suffer because I do so myself. I try to help people that are in pain because I realize that people in pain need special care. I realize these things. I don't know that everybody else does. I know they don't. But I know that the federal government understands these issues. I know that the state governments also understand these issues. To a degree, they will do things. If I give them enough information, they will do quite a bit. But I don't know that I have to do that. Yes, I do have to do that because I don't know what you're doing now. I don't know what you're doing because you use language with people that don't understand language. I'm not meant to understand language if I'm mentally ill in the manner I am, because most people don't. That's the statistics of what that mental illness actually pertains to. Most people that actually end up in a spectrum of illnesses called mental illnesses typically are not very intelligent. Typically are not very able to understand language. Typically don't want to communicate. And they get stifled into things because they don't know how to say things to other people. They don't want to because they're afraid. Because at other times they did say things to people, and those people either objected, they said things to them that either confused them, angered them, it frustrated them in some way. It caused them to say, well, I just won't talk to you then. And that's why people develop these illnesses inevitably. It is a social, and it is very real social interactions that create illnesses like this. But I don't know any doctor that's ever said that exactly to me. I said that to you. So I'm glad that you understand that concept and that those ideas, but I don't see how you could. You didn't say it. That's an issue. That's the issue with you, and it's the issue with a company like United Healthcare. You'll say things, and then I'm just meant to understand them. Well, I do, and I'm not going to stand for it. Just like if the federal government chooses to do certain things throughout an investigation and wants to investigate me, well, I'm not going to stand for that either. I will file petitions with the court. I don't have to do much now. All I have to do is contact a lawyer, and I will do so. And I will not be talked to like this. I will not be talked to in the manner you're talking to me. I will not be talked to. I will not be referred to. I will not be used in that manner. If my information is in your system and isn't incorrect, it is your obligation to correct that. That is my information. It's mine, not yours, not anyone else's. Other people can't have claim to what is mine at all. If I have numbers that are given to me by a actual formal system, those are my numbers. Other people can't have them. They can't borrow them for a little while. So no, this is not going to stand. And if you simply understand it, good. I'm glad you do. Then do something. If you don't, well, then I'll take the matter up with individuals who will do something themselves. And they'll investigate you and find out, well, what do we need to do about this? Because he's saying that this is something you did to him. Formally. Like, I'll do that to you because I can do that to whoever I want. Because either I'm United Healthcare or for any of other people. I don't care about United Healthcare. I'm not going to accept that hail. I'm just going to object to it. I'm going to say, no, you can go away. And if you don't, well, I'm going to say you're now on my property. And when I say you're on my property, that's a very formal statement. That means either A, you're somewhere in my house, or you're somewhere on another place that I own or that is my property. And I have the right to do with my property what basically I want within certain limitations. Especially if someone's in my house stealing my stuff. What can I then do? A number of things. And at some point, I can take and use extreme force, which would validate other claims I had made previously that the federal government carelessly wanted to investigate for their own stupidity. But now it's very formal because here is actually the tape. Here's the recording of the matter of what did you say? Because that's what I wanted the federal government to tell me, what they said. And what did they refuse to do at that point? Tell me what they said. Why? Because we just are the law. But they're not the law. The federal government is not the law. The law is the law. So it's not the federal government that just gets to say, here's the law. They get to do things that will act with the law, but they can't just be out there saying, now I'm the law. That's not how it works. Laws are laws. They're meant to be followed. I'm following them. But if I have to follow the due process of law in order to inquire about, well, why would you say these things? Inevitably ending it with, well, why would anybody say those things? And people saying, I don't know why people say those things. And me saying, well, then you better figure out why people say those things, because those are some horrendous things. And you say, well, how is that a horrendous thing? And I say, do you not know what was said? And it's like, okay, are you ignorant? Because I'm not going to stand for ignorance all day long. I don't need it. It doesn't do any good. Either you educate yourself, you figure out what you're saying, and you say things that are honest. If you don't do that, well, then you don't even need to be talking because you'd be lying every single time you say something. So you don't need a job somewhere to do something, some kind of a function, because you're telling me that, I know what I'm telling you when you're telling me a bunch of things that's like, well, I'm glad you say that, but none of that's actually legal or any lawful thing you said. It's just your interpretation of what another system said. So you will need to get like 5 or 10 people in there to look at something that's on a screen so they can say, well, and we don't know what it said. And when the matter was finally resolved, in this case, where someone's on the phone, literally with the clinic, asking them, saying that she needs to make some sort of an override. I need to make an override. And they're saying, a what? They don't even know what an override is. They're like, an override? What's an override? So now she says, I need to make an override. And they say, okay, about what? And she say, well, this patient, saying my name. And they say, listen, if he's a patient here, he can come here. Now, what the hell just happened there, lady? Do you not know what the fuck you said or do what she said or what I said? Because if you're telling me you understand what I'm saying, and then you tell me, well, I really don't know what you said, then we got a problem. Whereupon what I say is, well, then you're ignorant. And ignorance is not something that's blissful in my world at all. Ignorance is what leads to people like me being treated like shit, being abused, harmed, harassed. Those are all things that are being determined are hate crimes. So at that point in time, I could then go and extend the idea of, well, perhaps you're just part of a hate crime. Is that what you personally want to be a part of? Because if you think this is going to stop, no, it's not going to stop. I don't have to stop it. I've already been through what is the federal prison system to figure out, okay, I mean, what the hell? I didn't do nothing. I came here, I settled down, I said a few things to the doctors and left. They didn't continue the matter. But I don't have to continually be subjected to the idea of, well, we said, because there are other men involved that know, well, we didn't say any of these things, actually. We never even talked to this guy. Other people get involved and screwjack things, thinking they get special treatment from somebody that's, saying, I'm supposed to be mentally ill. And that's a big deal because I have special protections under the law, which I've already noted to you. Whereupon, if you start doing things to me and they determine you did these things to that man because he's mentally ill, you've committed a hate crime. And what is a hate crime? Is that a good thing?
Yes.
Right. But there you go. I mean, I'm glad that you understand language and you can understand English. That's a very good thing. But I don't really think you do. But I speak to that as a person that at one point in time probably could have told you a variety of things you never would have understood. And I would have understood, sure, I told you things you don't understand. But I'm telling you things that you should understand now. Much different than I was saying before, but you weren't aware of what I was saying before. You weren't aware of who I was before I said those things that were things you couldn't understand. So when I say these things to you today, you think, well, I don't know. I don't know what you were like. I mean, at all. This is what you're like to me. And I say, yes, this is what I'm like. This is what I'm like when someone tells me various things that I determine are wrong. And why are they wrong? Because if you can't tell me, I've already told you why they're wrong. And you can't tell me why someone's saying various things that are like, oh, we're your healthcare provider. And now we're going to call you to determine to work more along the lines of with you on this plan, which is a relationship someone's forming with me. And I say, oh, I've already answered that question. They say, oh, we're just going to, we'll enter this information in there. And I say, okay. And I give you the answer. And when I say, okay, that's the answer. And you say, well, we're not going to accept that answer. And I say, well, that's too bad. Because the truth is, you better accept the answer because I'm not giving you any more answers because I'm done with this. I'm not going to be treated that way. And I don't expect anyone else other than ever to be treated that way in any way by any company at all. So I'm not going to stand for it. So when I take up this matter with the federal government, which I'm going to do, I'm going to mention that A, you need to figure out a way to formally create a system whereupon people, when they're interacting with others on the phone, realize one thing, big thing here, is that all of this information that I'm giving you is privileged in a way that you may not even understand, but it's legally privileged information. Now, another thing that you need to understand is that there may be a lot of people out there that don't even know that. And if you take advantage of them, well, I will pursue in many ways you until I find you and put you in a position where now I know what you're doing and I'm going to do something about it. And my intentions would be to have some formal complaint filed and then pursue legal action to have you removed from your position, the position you're in, because you don't care, you don't like people, you don't need people, you just use them to get what you want. So if you want something, what do you want?
Well, right now, I would like to give you some information if that's okay.
Yes, and you can give me some information, and I will write it all down.
All right. So, you originally, what started this all this
Yes.
is because you want your doctor assigned to you, and the advocate told you that they couldn't because our system said that it was existing only. Well, thankfully, given the fact that I am not a regular advocate, I do have it fixed for you. Dr. Edwards is showing as your primary care physician
Right.
since the beginning of this month.
Yeah.
And you will be getting a new ID card in 7 to 10 business days with Dr. Edwards' information on it.
Good. That's
Okay.
that's vital clues of what I've just said. But yes, that's all good information. Good to hear, good things to hear. But that's not going to stop this complaint. This complaint will continue.
That's perfectly fine. I had no intention of stopping it, but trying to fix the problem that caused it is my goal.
Good.
That is
And
what
then
I am supposed to do.
the problem that caused this is the abject ideas about training or some form of training or some form of actual, the ideas of communicating various forms of, realities to people that may not even know what you're talking about. I can't have been the first person that has ever experienced this idea of, well, my family doctor was this person, but your system's saying, well, you can't have that person essentially. And you giving me various reasons for why I can't have them. And me saying, well, what do you want me to do? This is this plan, what you've offered here, it's a crime, because it's like, we'll give you a very good plan here, but you won't get any of the actual benefits of it, because we'll get to decide for ourselves what you actually get for care, which is not how healthcare works. You can't have the insurance company deciding how care works, but they do in many ways, but I'm not going to stand for it. So I'm going to continue this matter. I'm going to investigate it more fully than you're saying, because apparently what you're saying is we've determined that this is a done deal. So I will take this recording to an individual that will continue to pursue what I'm saying. And if you think that it's just going to go away, it's not. So if you ever really deal with me, if you hear my voice ever again, which is very distinct, and you see me out there in the world or anything, and you ever see my face and you hear me talking, and you've done wrong to me, either you can tell me to my face what you've done to me, or you can just take that to your grave.
Okay, well, one, I've never said in this entire conversation that this is just going to go away. If you want to seek further legal action, that is your right. However, in order for me to document your complaint, I have to try to fix the situation by assigning your primary care physician to the doctor that you were requesting, is how I can finish wrapping this up and send this off.
Okay, that's fine. So who do I need to contact in the future concerning this matter? Who do I need to call?
Well, if you want to call and check on it to see what's documented on it or if anything further's been done,
okay,
we recommend calling the customer service number on the back of your ID card.
Mm-hmm.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m. local time is normally going to be your best time any day of the week.
Okay, and who do I need to ask to speak to?
You can either just speak with the advocate that answers. If you do get an advocate that is overseas, you are more than welcome to request to be connected with a United States representative, or you can request to speak with supervisor.
Okay, here's a question. Is United Healthcare an international company? Is it?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so you provide healthcare to the entire world?
Yes.
Okay, so you provide healthcare to North Korea?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
You really do? Do you?
As far as I'm aware, I'm in the United States. I mostly service United States calls.
Okay, well, see, these are all issues that need to be brought up now. So you provide healthcare to the entire world. You're a world system.
Yes.
You're a world healthcare system.
Yes.
So whereupon do you get the most money? Who do you service the most?
Again, I work in the United States, so most of the calls that I take are going to be more localized, such as...
Who does your company service the most? Who is your company primarily servicing?
Well, our average numbers are 1 in every 5 Americans.
Okay, 1 in every 5 Americans, 1 in every 5 Americans, which is a considerable amount of Americans, are getting services through United Healthcare, a company that, as far as I can tell, does not care about Americans, it only cares about money, will service the entire world, and based upon what you've just told me, will even give healthcare to people in North Korea, but how they would ever do that, I have no idea. I don't even know how you would ever get into North Korea. But apparently, according to you, a person that should be knowing certain things, they do it. So, okay, I will just go along with that. But I know I'm not going to go along with it anymore. I'm not going to fall in step and walk along with a bunch of people that obviously don't even know where the hell they're going. But oh well. So the issue becomes, who do I need to call again to reference the matter of, has this been thoroughly investigated? Where are the actual transcripts? And who do I need to contact in order to get them?
You would again just call the customer service number on the back of your card, and any advocate that you speak with, foreign or non-foreign, can give you information on the complaint that we are filing today. If you would like to request to speak with a supervisor, that is your right.
Well, yes, I really would agree. That is my right. But I want to know how long will it take for you to formally investigate this complaint?
Okay, so once I send this complaint off, it goes to a completely different department. There is not a time frame or investigation time frame that we are given, since I work in customer service. I do not handle past filing the complaints and grievances for you. Anything to do with the investigation.
So what you're saying is
that is handled by a team.
Okay.
A document where we can see it.
Good, and I'm glad, and I hope they do this thoroughly, because what I want to know at this point in time is why you're using certain words, and if they don't, and if what they're saying is that doesn't matter, then I'm going to take this matter up with as many lawyers as I possibly can that will tell me yes, words certainly do matter. When you say them, they certainly do. You may have freedom of speech, but you can't just say certain words as a company to somebody in an attempt to make some formal idea of an agreement. It's a contractual agreement between me and your company. So I will take up this matter with AARP and ask them, okay, so what exactly do you think the services they're through United Healthcare are meant to do for people like myself? Why wouldn't people want these services? Why would 1 in 5 Americans want these services, when the reality of this company is it doesn't, it's more interested in some world concept of healthcare, but won't actually provide legitimate healthcare to many people, even in this country. I mean, they will, but I'd like to know more reality of that myself. Like, okay, what healthcare do you think you're providing me? I mean, the issue becomes one of very strict idea of services, where services rendered, where I'm paying a great deal of money. A lot of people are, for services here. So when they're not properly rendered, or when they're actually improperly rendered, when they're improperly set up, I want to know how often that happens. So if your investigation ends with, well, we don't have to tell people that, or ends with, we don't even know that, or ends with various, quizzical statements, well, then you're going to have to deal with the rest of the inevitable ideas of what you're involving yourself in, which are some very odd criminal matters, but you may not think so. You may not even think it even matters at all. You may not think that this will ever even matter to anybody, but it will matter to various people. They will understand, yes, it matters what people say, because the federal government knows that. They do know that. They understand what people say and what people don't say. As far as how much they'll really involve themselves in this, I don't know. But I do know they will involve themselves in it enough to resolve the matter of, no, you're not going to do all that again, because it was illegal. But you don't know what you said, do you? I mean, you'd have to be ignorant. That's what you have to be. Because you assume I am, but I'm not ignorant.
All right, Mr. McGinley. So outside of getting the situation fixed with your primary care physician so that doesn't cause any issues for you in the future, and getting this documented, is there anything else for you that I can do today?
Formally file a complaint for yourself with this company? To say to the effect that, I don't know what you're saying on the phone, because I don't think that really what you're saying makes any really legitimate. You're saying that, okay, we will handle the matter of your primary care physician. Okay, I'm glad you do that. But the reality of my primary care is that was never the issue, never an issue for me. I mean, I've been seeing him for quite some time. I've seen him regularly. And this is not something I like. Once in a while, I go to the doctor. I go to the doctor quite often. I have my blood work done quite often. I have things done quite often. I get these services for a reason. I get these things for a reason. I have these diagnoses for a reason. To think that you don't understand any of this is what I'm understanding, because the legitimate things I'm saying here are no concern to you. The only concern to you is what, the measly peasly idea of a job where you're working at his company. You're thinking, well, I hear I get this all the time. I can't see how you've talked to anybody like me ever. Your silence is already speaking enough. I mean, it's like, okay, I mean, if someone really cared about somebody and they wanted to help them and they wanted to do things to make sure that they felt good or they felt, okay, their deal would be more to be like, they'd listen and they'd say, I do care and I do want to help you. You didn't say any of those things. So you don't care. So that's the truth about you. So when you meet me, or if you ever do, you ever see me, ever hear about me, maybe see me on TV at some point in time, just turn away. Don't look at me.
As you wish.
No, thank you, because you will be. You'll just be doing whatever you like. Because I ain't going to stand for it. This is the reality of a person like you or a person like, the various people that may be working at your company. I don't know. Not really worth much of anything. But I guess that's what they want in life. But anyways, I mean, that's the reality I see here. That if that's healthcare, okay. Because if I was saying these things to my family doctor, if I was getting angry at Dr. Edwards, his deal would become, I need to be able to help my patient. I have to help my patient. He didn't say anything about helping anybody, really. I mean, he didn't even care to tell me much of anything. He didn't say, I understand. You're angry. You're very angry. And so the reality of you is, I better protect myself here. You're not protecting nobody else. I know men that have taken bullets for their country. So if you think that in any way what you're doing here is in any way glorifying or helping much of anybody, no, I know men that get shot for their country, to get Purple Hearts because they were wounded in battle. I also know men that were taken into other facilities and never seen again. I also know men in various other capacities, but you don't, and you don't care about them. That's what I think. You don't care about my grandfather who fought in World War II against one of the most horrendous evils that ever existed. But you don't care about him because you never met him. But you don't have to care about people like that.
I'm going to stop you there. I've had just enough.
Well, I'm sure you did, but I'm not going to stop. I don't care. I don't care if it's up to you or not.
Conversation now.
You can end it all you like. This doesn't end, my dear. This just continues.
Is there anything else that I can do for you today?
Yeah, you can give me your name.
My name is Lynn.
Yep, spell it.
Lynn.
Spell your last name.
I can only give you my initial.
Give it to me.
S is in Sam.
Yeah, I'll take this matter up with whoever I need to take this matter up with. Again, you ever meet me, you see me, you hear me, you walk away. Because I don't like people like you. You do your job, great. If you don't know how to do that, or you don't know how to provide proper care in various capacities and do proper things with your life, I don't have no use for you. Because the reality of what I know is none of these things are working right now, but we're trying to make them work. That doesn't mean they will work. So when people like in Canada go completely insane because of what's going on in Canada, we're going to feel the repercussions. When whatever is Ukraine is invaded by people like Russia, we're going to feel the repercussions. Whenever people realize how screwjacked what is our production line and our supply line here in this country is, we're going to feel the repercussions. So people are going to need to come together and do something about that. But that doesn't mean we're going to sit here and be able to understand. No, it means that you need to be able to provide genuine care and compassion to the people. Now, I don't know if you know how to do that or not in a real way, but you've not done it here. I mean, whatever you've done here is a formal matter of how we will see. We will deal with this issue because that's all that pertains to my job. That's all you care about is your job. Good, because I know a bunch of other people that are dead today because all we care about is our job. But those are dead men. So whatever. So if that affects you, that hurts you and harms you in ways, it's what you need. Because I don't need to be hurt and harmed and tortured to understand what it feels like. I know what it feels like. I went through it. So whatever. Huh? To think that I want to be treated the way you treat me or anyone treats me in your company at this point in time, I just ain't going to do it. And to think I'd ever change my mind at this point, you got to be completely insane. So what AARP or United Healthcare wants is somebody telling them, listen, if you don't believe these things, then why did I say them? Or why is this investigation going on here? Why are these other people investigating the matter now? Because they will. But if that doesn't affect you, I don't need to affect you in your life when I tell you basically, listen, the decisions you make and the things you do on this phone line or with my information in various ways, you make mistakes, that affects me in big ways. And I know it. So when you're telling me some of these things, like, oh, well, look at that figure, look at that fixed, good. I'm glad you're going to get it fixed, but I'm not going to stop at that point because I know inevitably that's just all it's about. We got that issue fixed here in this company, and we got it fixed here for you. You know, obviously, we're not doing that to nobody else, or obviously, that's what we do. We fix things because that's what we know how. We're good at that. When you don't even give a shit about me. So I don't pay you enough to give a shit about me as an American citizen. I don't give you enough of my tax dollars to give a shit about me. I don't provide you with enough of a country to live in, or with freedom and a variety of other things in this country, rights and responsibilities, and actual services, and a variety of other ways of looking at being able to do things. Provide you with proper ways of getting an education if you want one, proper ways of serving your country if you choose to, proper ways of going to the authorities if that's what you need to do, proper ways of getting a lawyer if in chance you actually are involved in some crime, committed some crime, or whatever, and do not actually have money to pay that lawyer. You get those things in this country because of the people that founded this country and wrote a very simple document that makes sense. But you're telling me things like, okay, that makes sense, but you don't care about me. That's how I feel about this. And if that doesn't affect you, if you don't go home and think, man, I don't know what the hell's going on here, then I guess then what you are is just some programmed robot. And all you need to be doing is what robots do. Because I'm not going to pay robots, and I don't need to feed robots. So I don't really know what a robot is good for. But I do know what's going on in the world today. So if you don't, and you live in a world of abject denial of all reality, then you got to be dumb. Because if you don't know what's going on in various places, or you think that actually your company provides some form of service to people literally in North Korea, I mean, what? I don't think so. People can't even get into North Korea. I mean, you might as well have been telling me that you were there during the fucking, the Cold War. You're right over there in the Soviet Union. It makes no sense. I understand that you probably have no care or concern for any of these matters, which shows the actual reality of a person like you and what you do and what you really want out of life and out of what you do and how you act with other people. If you don't like this matter that I'm bringing it up with you, I really don't care because I'm bringing this matter up with who? I'm bringing this matter up with you and to do something where I'm going to bring up this matter with the federal government and say, look, this is how people seem to think they should treat each other because of formal law. The formal law doesn't tell you can do these things. You say it does, but then they're going to say, well, it probably doesn't, because is this care? Is this concern? Is this in any way healthcare? Is this in any way someone caring for a patient? Is this in anyone actually dealing with the issues of mental illness or anything? I'm dealing with those things, and do you care? Come on. Are you stupid, lady? If you just sit there on the phone silent and I'm recording all of this, it does show. It shows a very severe lack of understanding of care. Like, I can't handle that when someone tells me things that, maybe it'll be true. And I won't stand for that. And I won't have that. I won't deal with it. I won't have somebody say that to me. So I don't have to answer when it's like, well, that's your job. If you don't want that job, well, you go find a different job.
Is there anything else, Mr. McGinley, that I can do for you today? Otherwise, have a very nice day. It was a pleasure. Goodbye.
Yeah, remember my name. So what do you then do? I mean, do you write a letter about how, okay, that's what I said? I mean, are you going to investigate the criminal activity or the supposed criminal activity of any of these claims? Are you actually going to investigate any of this? Will there actually ever be any formal transcripts describing why you have descriptive ways of saying things with a system, or systematic ways, I should say, with certain wording to make sure that, we won't give you that doctor. Those are issues that have to be resolved with someone that has a hell of a lot more understanding than someone on the phone that's trying to, resolve the matter of, well, all I'm concerned about is this matter because, that's all I have to do. I don't have to worry about people. I don't have to care about people. Okay, people is just an abstract idea of a term. And you really do expect a whole bunch of people then to look at this and say, no, this is all insanity. This person is completely insane. Because the men that I speak for at times, they're old. They've fought wars. Some of them don't really want to talk at all. They don't want to tell anybody anything, but they would love to say, you people don't care about us because we do this stuff. We go out there in the world where literally we have to deal with people that are insane. We have to deal with people that don't know anything. I'm not trying to speak for them. I'm just trying to speak towards that concept of, towards the idea of what I even initially said to a bunch of people, which is something to the effect of, I deal with this idea of terrorism in such weird ways. I don't even understand it. All I understand is the concept of like, this is how this would be arranged mathematically or, or in a sentence. And it's none of it's really very, it's not very nice, but to have somebody tell me at times, they act like, well, we don't think it really means much. When other people thought, well, it does mean a whole lot of something. We don't know. And I've had people approach me and say essentially that, but you would never understand it. I mean, that's the point. It's like, if you're looking at this and saying, well, what did you say? I mean, you'd have to be able to tell me what the number actually means when it's paired up with words. And I'm like looking at it and saying, how do you think that means anything? Right. But what I want to know right now is exactly why don't people take this, or why aren't they concerned with this matter today in any real way? When they say, okay, we're going to go out there and tell you things, but they don't tell you that. They don't say, look, you got to look at what we're saying. Look at the language. Because you have to. You can't just be like, oh, well, all of this was said. That's all they do. They just record and basically, construct or, manufacture, as someone has already said, like Chomsky, the stuff. And they put it out there. And then they expect us as Americans or whoever to just to understand it. When that's not understanding, that's just constructed amounts of whatever was said. And they just keep doing it. They don't stop. And inevitably, when things get bad, like they did on January, on the 3rd, when they were supposed to transition to power, which never in history of America has ever taken place. Maybe during like a civil war, but I don't think that was during a transition of power exactly. It was during a physical war, a civil war in this country, which was it was inevitable based upon a lot of different ways of looking at what was going on at the time. But the reality becomes, okay, suddenly we won't secede power. Someone wants to cede power, and then people are literally willing to kill, to go to that extent. And the only reality becomes that those people, seemingly knew and you locked themselves in that building. Because then they went in there and paraded themselves around, and people act like, well, okay, that's just, that's what Americans do. That's what Americans do. That's treason. It's treason. It's a crime. It's a high crime. And the person that's seriously guilty of it would be, the administration themselves that led themselves to it. That's treason. Or if you go through the reality of like, okay, well, Russia was involved somehow in our political process. They had to have been. We show that. And then people say like, well, they've been involved in political processes all the time. It's like, but this is literal proof of it. Here's the evidence that says that. We never really had much of that before because it's not easy to get. But when it's a literal thing they're doing with like literal social forms of media, which is like social engineering here, and they're doing it, and we can prove it, then we should proceed with some form of case, some form of like, here's why they did this, here's who they were talking to and connected. We need to know. We need to have a better investigation, a formal investigation. But when people just go aside, or with the reality of, hey, Josh, you said these things, you're going to prison. With me going, oh, I said them to you because you don't even listen. I told you all about bin Laden. I told you all about these various other people in ways it's like, don't make no sense. I agree with that. But I told you about them. It's like I made direct statements about here is terrorism. Here's a reality of it. I show you language. I show you the numbers. I show you the system, terrorism. And then say, okay, well, what are you going to do? And they just sit there. So I call back and I do it again. And I call back and I do it again. I get frontal with them. I can say, listen, you're going to do something about this. And instead, what do? They go round and round with me and then put me in the system. And then when I'm in the system, what do? Then they go straight from crazy. They got men there that are from Israel. They come in from Israel for a reason. They're like, we're gonna tone this down now. We can't have this stuff. And I say, no doubt. But then you're going to be dealing with the IRA. You're going to be dealing with I-9. You're going to be dealing with, you're going to be dealing with all these groups. And they're going, okay, we'll deal with them. And I'm going, well, then deal with them because they're not going to be nice to you because I don't have any reason for them to be. If you had given me reason to give these other men a reason to be nice, to be kind, then that would have happened. Instead, what they'll say is, what? This is your flag? This is your idea? Get the hell off my land. They're not going to be kind. They don't need to be kind. All they need to be is lawful. That's all you said. We'll obey laws, even though our covert organizations go roundabout not to obey them. With me saying, oh, great old man, I'm really glad that you don't know your own laws. I mean, come on, are you stupid? You got to be living in a world stupid yourself too, huh? Is that what I want? I want every stupid person to tell me they're stupid all the time. So then I'll say, well, there you go. Salvation. You made it. You finally understand how being saved is all about. I mean, I don't care generally about how to say something to somebody really, but it is very technical. And I don't want to be this way. But you made me this way because you won't allow me the proper, audience to even speak to concerning the matter. You put me through a weird gibberish idea of like, we're trying, and you don't even know. I mean, you don't know because you don't know the formal way of doing things. And you want me to tell you. It's like, what do you think? Do you think this is just like something I do all the time? I do this like over and over again throughout all the histories of man, because man just happened to be all those times. Man. 5 million generations of man throughout all the generations of whatever universes you want to talk about. Man. I don't think so. I don't think mankind really even understands the reality of those beings don't know what the hell they're doing. They're in something they don't understand. Like they made a deal where they're like, well, I do understand that I don't have to do nothing anymore about this. And then the bad guys showed up and they said, yeah, oh, well, we don't want to do nothing no more. They couldn't talk in a literal way, but they acted like, I don't care. Those are things over there that I don't care about. And those things go, and run around, and then they end up dead. And this little guy, he's still around, walking around. And then they'd kill him. I mean, okay, you don't care? What the hell are you doing? And he ends up, warping through time in ways. You know why? Because I can't figure out what the hell you're doing. You just figured out that I don't have to do nothing. Oh, okay. I'm glad you do that. That's really going to help people. Whatever. And there may be 20 people out there that really understand that one, because the only person that truly understands any of it is the person that really said it. But the Buddha himself would be like, yeah, I'm sure these things are a big deal and they do matter. And what I'm going to do is, well, I'm going to do nothing? Well, I don't think so. That wasn't the decision he made. It's more like he said, listen, what we need to be doing here is right or something, to the effect of like saying something to a general assembly. Because you don't have general assemblies in this country. We don't have nothing in this country. What we have is dirt. Because you're stupid. I don't get how you even know anything. But if you don't know the reality of what is going on in technology, and you don't know the reality of what is going on in the world, this entire conversation that I'd be having here with myself, which I'm proficient at, would be meaningless. But other people in what is the federal government do know. And they're not just people you walk up to and say, hey, this guy, he's a problem. You're not going to say anything to these guys. You'll say, listen, I'm a fuck up, because these guys won't like you. They don't need to like you. They'll look at you and say, hey, listen, the people end up getting shot in the head at the end of the day. That's what we're here to prevent. Like this guy won't stop because he decided that it doesn't even matter. We look at these people. They're pathetic. We'll fight World War I. Yeah. Then we fight World War II. Ah! Then we don't even know what we're doing. We're ready to gung-ho for war forever. We don't know how to end that. But why would we? We better depend upon this unknown character. We don't know who he is. We can't say his name. We can't even say that he had a name. Because you don't know nothing. And you certainly don't know what I'm saying. You don't know where I'm coming from. The context isn't really there for you to think that, okay, that's a real problem. That is a real problem. But the problem is going to be very direct when it's handed over to people in the federal government who say, this is what we're going to do. You ain't coming back in our country. You ain't coming here. You ain't going there. This is done. We're not playing games. Because these people, they're insane. I mean, do you want to sit inside a particle collider and try to be the particle? I don't know what that really would feel like, but the people that do these things, they are insane. You only have to do research to find out that what I'm saying is basically true. I mean, I don't put basically a statue of what is Shiva, and it's almost like a life-size form of a human variation of Shiva there on Earth, because I think that I love this place and I like people. And that's why I want to pray to, or at least honor, some idea of a destroyer god. You'd have to be stupid to believe the things that people say when they say, well, as a scientist, I don't know. This is strange. They're odd people. They're just odd people and they have odd beliefs, and it doesn't matter. It's just science. Science? Science is about killing people with odd weapons that you don't even understand. Okay, that's called terrorism. But if you want to talk with me about science, we can talk about Nazis and their science. And then they can say, okay, so maybe we have a problem. And I say, yeah, you're the problem because you don't know what you're saying. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what you said. You don't know how you've angered that person now. And what you've said is more like, well, I want to see science. And I say, what I want to see is people that understand. There's a lot of people out there that don't understand science. They're misled by the very fact of other people saying things to them. And then they're led off inevitably to places they don't want to go. But they don't know what they're doing. So well, might as well be there. I mean, you don't get it because because here in America, we just don't know what those concentration camps were really like. You don't. You were never there. Most Caucasians never ended up in a concentration camp, but you can go talk to a few people that now remain that were once there. They lived in various countries in the Eastern Bloc. I mean, over there in areas where it's like, yep, they're alive there. They were in the concentration camp. And you know what they do today? They got to figure out a way to get up out of an area and go find something to eat because they're hungry. But they're hungry to the point where, well, that probably won't satiate them. They'll just be, I'm hungry. And they die. But they were in concentration camps. And damn, those people, the communists, they did this. Well, I mean, sure. A bunch of morons did this. You think that someone's just going to accept their idea of a treaty? Sure, I'll sign that treaty for you. Yes, it's meaningless, but sure, I'll sign it. It's more like, why don't you go sign treaties with Trudeau? Yes, we're all just really stupid in the world of stupid, and it's real easy to be. But I ain't going to be it ever again. I don't have to because I have an audience of whatever watching me going, I hope I never have to say this stuff. And it's like, what? Did you believe that you know things and you could be a prophet that speaks for the word of God or speaks for the tone of the things he knows? As I try to get people on the internet to try to understand, listen, you maybe like this idea of this cryptic things you're doing and saying and trying to be involved in, but you don't understand it. When they start carting off your children and twos and threes and shit, and it's like, oh yeah, the Pied Piper, he showed up. Okay. You just be morons. Just sit there in your little houses and then say, well, he has this special food and he's going to lead our children away. But we just have to sit here because we're morons. Because that's what you would be. Morons. One moron, two moron, three moron. And then you go on, listen, I'm angry at the fact that people treat me the way they do. And then they assume they understand what I'm saying. Because they can understand English. It's amazing. But anybody historically would understand something. They just have to do as they were told. And the fact of reading something, you'd be lucky if you knew what your name was. And I can write my name. Oh yeah, there you go. Those guys back there in old time history, they knew everything. They knew how they could calculate pi to the 10 trillionth fucking digit. They were amazingly intelligent, which is a complete and utter mistruth and lie. So the fact really becomes, what the fuck do you think you're doing in the world of stupid? As they go, what? Because you'd have to be stupid to be putting something that's a live feed for a chat that's going to replay. It's going to appear there suddenly with me going, huh. Thank you very much.